All right, let's jump to wide receiver. Who you got in your top 5?
I got Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Stephon Diggs. Welcome to the top 3. Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase.
Same exact top 5 for me. Same order and everything. So
same order we've had, on or off the past, 17 straight weeks, I would say. But Diggs, man, whoo.
A monster. I mean, I remember saying in the offseason, I think we were talking to Ratcliffe. It was like, this dude led the league in catches and yards 2 years ago. And then he kind of not forgot about him, but it's just a little quieter last year. But he still has that upside, and it's looking like he's back on that path.
He needed our boy Gabe Davis to be out, but either way, like, how do they just go away from him at all? But yeah, it's a good reminder. Like, this is a good year to draft a wide receiver early in those first couple rounds. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's like every week, it's all these guys are going off, and what Xavier Howard, he doesn't really give Diggs a problem, right? Like, I'm trying to look up the game logs.
I don't think so. He dropped a pick 6 last week, so he's going to be angry this week. But I don't think anybody can slow down Diggs right now.
He did score in both games against Miami last year, so averaged 50 yards, but did score in both. All right, who you high on at wide receiver?
I'm high on CD Lamb. I was a bit low on him last week, but he's wide receiver 16 right now. Should still see plenty of targets with Cooper Rush. Had 11 last week, put up a 7 catch for 75 yards game. So he's a mid-range wide receiver too. His upside's capped because I don't think the touchdowns are going to be there until Dak is back. But he should, return to wide receiver 1 status once he returns. So I would try to buy low if you can right now. I liked what I saw at Amari Cooper in week 2. He struggled week 1, but he could just be a target monster in this offense. They don't really have many other weapons. So he's wide receiver 26 for me right now. I view him more of a high-end wide receiver 3. And then Sterling Shepard. I mean, projecting the Giants wide receivers right now has to be the biggest headache. The only guy we can trust right now is Sterling Shepard. So he's benefiting from both Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney dealing with injuries. So I have him wide receiver 40 right now, and he's even higher in PPR format. So I'm, continuing with the Sterling Shepard train while we can.
He did run, he ran a route on like 90% of the dropback. I don't trust Dable. Like this is like the Shanahan backfield.
Right. But I'm saying Shepard's the only guy that he's like the Debo guy. Like, he's not going to mess with that. But I mean, you could understand why Galladay was phased out. But yeah, what a complete shit show.
Yeah, I'm my boy Ken. He was showing me some teams he drafted. He uses our rankings, and I was like, he showed me like 2 or 3 teams, and I'm looking at them and I'm like, oh, this is good. Like Gabe Davis, Kelsey, like good rosters. And then I see like Galladay is like the last person on his bench. And I'm like, bro, you drop this dude. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, drop this dude. Like, I think he played 2 snaps last week. So that's
where
we are
his locker,
with Kenny Goddard.
And he's gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said that. Like he left, like they cleared his locker. I don't mean they as in the Giants organization. I think he just split the scene immediately. Obviously, he's pissed.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's embarrassing. I mean, you're making 72 mil.
Yeah.
And you had 2 snaps. I am high on, guess who? Amon-Ra. St. Brown.
Oh, yeah.
I said it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Nobody was high enough on this guy. And he's my wide receiver 7. He's still wide receiver 9. So I'm going right back to it. This guy catches 8 balls a game and a touchdown. Book it every game. That's what he's doing. That's what it's been since November of 2021. Just every week, week in and week out. He's a sick route runner. He has a nose for the end zone. He can run with the football. We saw him go for 58 yards on a very well schemed carry last week, but they're giving him like about half a carry a game since that like stretch. So that's always a help for wide receivers because you can always, that gives you a chance to get in the end zone, not just catching the football. So that's big. And then you're in the game with, I believe it's the highest total on the board in Vikings and Lions. Vikings probably going to play a lot of zone. Don't really expect them to play a ton of man coverage. They're kind of right around league average in man coverage rate. So always like St. Brown in these kind of spots. If Minnesota bounces back after that ugly game against the Eagles and the Lions are in a comeback script, even better. But I mean, this dude can ball either way. So Love me some ASB this week. We gotta stop. We gotta stop fading this guy. Like,
Oh yeah, no, I was splitting hairs heading into the season. I had like 4 or 5
I called
spots
you out
below.
on it. You're like,
But
I told you,
I
man.
I always pivot based on new information. So like heading into last week, I was super high. He was my wide receiver 9. I think ECR is like 12 or 13. Right now he's wide receiver 7. So
Yep.
after week 1, after that usage, been super high on him. And I think it was I need to go back and look, but ever since Dan Campbell has been calling plays, the running back usage in the passing game has dropped significantly. So Swift isn't eating into those targets. So it's just been more targets for Amon-Ra in those underneath routes. So after reading that and seeing that trend, I boosted him up significantly. Like you said, he's a red zone weapon now. So he's scoring touchdowns along with his 8 catches and 120 yards. So yeah, he's absolutely a wide receiver 1 now. Willing to admit that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like my thing is I'm always looking at the targets per route runs, because it's like everyone's like, okay, he balled out when Hawkinson was out, when Swift was mostly out, but you look at the targets per route and he's still beating those guys. So like when they're all healthy, who do you expect to lead the team in target? It's ASB. I also, you got to get ahead of this, because I got his reception over. I should have just took all of his overs last week. Garrett Wilson. I have him wide receiver 29 this week. I might be a little high on him.
That is a legit ranking. There's no arguing that now.
Yeah, okay, because he's wide receiver 41 consensus, but I mean, what else do you want from the guy? He's averaging a target 31% of routes. That is elite. I know it's only 2 games, but they're running a lot of routes. We got a big sample size because the Jets have had to throw quite a lot in these first 2 weeks. But more importantly, his route participation went from 56% in week 1 to 75% in week 2. So now he's only behind Elijah Moore in terms of routes run. He's pulled even with Corey Davis. And I wouldn't be surprised if that goes up again, because he's been the best receiver on the field for them. He leads them in targets by a landslide, and he would be leading them in yards too if Davis hadn't got that busted coverage. So he's 6 yards behind Davis. And by the way, he leads the NFL in red zone targets. So like me some Garrett Wilson. I think he's already here. He showed up.
He's been here, but in our waiver piece, I said, I was waiting for him to pass up Braxton Berrios,
right?
Which finally happened, thank God, in week 2. But he is pushing Elijah Moore's role as wide receiver 1 in this offense immediately. So yeah, he's way up there. He's definitely in the wide receiver 3 discussion. So I don't think your wide receiver 29 rank is crazy at all.
Yeah, I have him ahead of Moore.
I don't think that's. I mean, I'm still Elijah Moore stan, so I have him a little bit ahead of him, but I can't argue with that right now. They're like 1A and 1B right now. Yeah,
I mean, it's like those targets per route run, it just stabilizes. Like, it's one of the most stickiest, metrics. So it's like they've been running routes together. Moore's been on the field almost every snap. And so Moore's been on the field, I think 92% of the time. And yet Wilson leads the team, and like he was at 8 more targets than Moore. Like that's significant.
Are we gonna downgrade anybody once Zach Wilson comes back? Do we want Flacco to stay there? Like what?
Yes, we absolutely do want Flacco to stay.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Okay, good. I'm not crazy.
But now I have Moore at 33, so I'm not too far down in him. But I have Wilson for 4 catches, just over 50 yards. All right. Who else do I like? Oh, Drake London. Gotta mention him.
Oh yeah.
Going against the Seahawks, great matchup. They play zone over 90% of the time, unless they switch it up, which I doubt. And Drake London is in the 92nd percentile among wide receivers already this year in yards per route run versus zone at 3.3, according to PFF. So Kyle Pitts, he's been the man beater. Like, that's kind of been his thing. When you get man coverage, he's obviously a mismatch piece, but everyone's kind of wondering, where's Kyle Pitts? Falcons been seeing a lot of zone. You got to kind of keep eyes on that crazy rushing attack with Mariota and Patterson. So teams aren't going to play a ton of man against the Falcons, and they've been taking advantage of it with Drake London. He looks great, and he's producing. So yeah, he's my wide receiver 22 right now. He's 24 consensus, so he's there. But another guy, I just think we might be seeing a monster game sooner or later from him.
Oh yeah, love me some Drake London.
Who you low on?
Well, we're on the same guy, so I'll let you take this one first.
Oh, Terry McLaurin, man. I mean, I love me some scary Terry, but this Washington receiving corps, is just crowded right now because Curtis Samuel's balling out. Carson Wentz just seems to be having some difficulty getting the ball outside. A lot of production to Samuel, where Dotson and McLaurin's target rates are down. But Dotson's been masking it with touchdowns. McLaurin hasn't, but McLaurin's target per route is just 11%. And that's worrisome because, Dotson is a legit talent, and he was on the field every snap last week. He played more snaps than McLaurin in terms of the route and the pass plays anyway. And then Curtis Samuel is out here getting carries. He's out here getting targets. Logan Thomas getting healthier, caught a touchdown last week. Still got Gibson and McKissick. So it's getting a lot more crowded, and McLaurin's target per route is going down, and that's exactly what we don't want to see. And by the way, Darius Slay, that's who he's going up against. So last year in 2 meetings, he 51 scoreless yards and 71 scoreless yards. And Slay is the #1 graded corner in PFF through 2 weeks.
Yep, ditto. And yeah, just with Samuel and Dotson stepping up, McLaurin's more of a, high risk reward, high end wide receiver 3, I would say this week.
Yeah.
Just kind of going to be the downfield threat. So he might give some Mike Williams vibes in the meantime, until and unless somebody gets hurt. Plus, Logan Thomas is only going to get healthier, run more routes going forward. So it's just crowded. Carson Wentz isn't going to be able to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every game. They're not going to be facing the Lions and Jaguars every game. So yeah, definitely a scary start for Scary Terry.
Yeah, he might not have time this week. Chase Roulier, top 5 graded center. They put him on IR. So the over-under for this game was, even after the Eagles game ended, was still around Eagles like -4.5 with like 50-51. And now it's Eagles -6.5 with a total of 47. So the Washington implied total dropped like 4 points, like over a field goal last night. So not ideal for Terry. I have him 4 for 50. That's the kind of usual numbers, 4 for 58, but just under 0.3 touchdowns. So not a great touchdown bet, and that's really what you need when his median is right around like 4 for 58. So, all right. What do you got for the prop?
So you're going to like this one. I think I already know where you're going to go, but both of these rookies had breakout weeks. So I want you to pick which rookie wide receiver gets more receiving yards this week. Garrett Wilson, or I should have said Drake. I should say Drake on here, but I'm going to say Chris Olave.
Ooh, that's Olave had a big game last week, right?
Yeah.
But let me check.
But they both broke out in their crowded wide receiver rooms. So I thought that we might have similar projections, but it sounds like you're much, much higher on Wilson, and rightfully so. But I think both are, on the wide receiver 3 radar now, even with, the crowded wide receiver rooms.
Yes, I am lower on Olave. I have Wilson right around 4 for 50, whereas I have Olave at about 3.5 for 48. So a lot of that is just due to, he's still running routes with Michael Thomas and Jarvis Landry. So I just think it's going to be a little bit tougher for him to get as many targets. Like his target per route rate is 22%, whereas Wilson's is 31%. And I believe I'm projecting the Saints for less passes than Flacco, because Flacco needs a bunch of passes to get yards. Like his yards per completion is, have Flacco throwing like 37 passes and Winston throwing 34, I think 33.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yep. So that's kind of the difference. If like their underlying metrics are both good, but Wilson a little bit stronger. So I will go with Wilson.